It seems like everyone has been going back to play old Minecraft recently for some reason, and I'm no different. I've been getting that feeling to go back as well, so I decided to play through the entirety of the official release version, which is 1.0, to see just how far we've come. This is the version I remember playing when I first got into the game, so I just want to have a good time and relive some old memories. So, let's get into it. So for this playthrough I had one goal. A goal I had as a kid but never took the time to do. Get all the achievements. I know this sounds like a lot, but there were only a handful of them back in the day, so it wasn't really as hard as it is now. So it's a pretty reasonable goal that'll keep me playing for a little while rather than just rushing straight to the end in the dragon fight. Of course, the first thing I did was gather some wood and make some tools. That's already 4 achievements down. I immediately started missing some of the quality of life features added in later versions, like drag clicking items into the crafting grid. Anyways, I quickly replaced my wooden pickaxe and made some stone tools. So far, everything was pretty much the same as modern Minecraft. The next thing I did was go caving, where I found tons of iron and I made a whole set of armor, and then remembered that caves in this version were super interconnected. So I got pretty lost and barely made it out just in time to kill a chicken and save myself from starving to death. That was way too close for comfort. Food is way more important in this version. After that, I was serenaded by C418's music as I searched for a good spot to build my house. This is something I noticed pretty quickly while playing this version. The vibe is totally different. Like, yeah, there is less in the game, but it feels simpler and a bit more relaxing. There is no feeling like caving or building or even just cutting down some trees to the sound of C418. It's just so nice. Who knows though, that might just be nostalgia talking. Anyways, I eventually settled on this little bit of flat land next to the mountains. My house was very simple. This design has been burned into my memory from when I was a kid. This was the first house I ever made in the game. I'm pretty sure I just took it from my older brother, but either way, it fits right into the atmosphere of this time period. Back then, building was just so much simpler than it is now. People didn't really worry much about detail. Probably because there weren't as many options for it. Like, for example, you can't place stairs upside down, and you also can't have sideways logs either. It's very limiting. With my house done, I immediately started working on a wheat farm since food is super important in this version. It's nothing special, just crops in a fenced-in spot. Though, I have to say, farming in this version just sucked. Farmland gets destroyed by everything. Even just walking on it will destroy it, which is super annoying and forced me to make these 2 walkways, which even then don't always protect it. I literally don't remember it being this bad. But in the end, I eventually got it started. Look, it's not the best, but we make do with what we've got, okay? So after I finished the farm, I decided to do some fighting. I noticed a couple things throughout the night. First off, tools deteriorate so much faster in this version. Throughout my playthrough, I've gone through sword after sword and pickaxe after pickaxe. On one hand, I like it because it makes the game a bit harder, as you actually have to consider durability, which in modern Minecraft I barely even think about. I upgrade too quickly and end up getting mending, and then after that, durability basically doesn't even exist. On the other hand though, it's kind of annoying, and having to replace my tools every 20 or so minutes wasn't exactly the most exciting thing in the world. I wish that modern Minecraft had a middle ground. I wish that durability was actually something to worry about, but not as much as in old Minecraft. Well, on the combat, I've got to say I kind of missed the 1.9 combat while playing this. Like, don't get me wrong, when it comes to PvP, I think that the combat prior to 1.9 is better, obviously. But with PvE, 1.9 adds more thought into the equation. Also, I noticed that spam clicking wasn't even optimal before 1.9, because you still have durability taken away even if your hit does no damage because of the mob's invincibility frames. Speaking of the mobs, they're AI. Most of them are stupider. Makes sense. It's an older version of Minecraft, so its AI is going to be worse. But on the other hand, the creepers in this version are better. Well, better as in more threatening, not better as in safer for your house. Quite the opposite, actually. You see, in modern Minecraft, when the creeper is about to explode, it'll stop moving and then explode, whereas in older versions, they would strafe towards you, making it harder to avoid them. Like in modern Minecraft, I never have creepers explode unless I'm not paying attention and they sneak up on me from behind, but in this version, it's harder to keep them away, which is more fun in my opinion. Anyways, back to the playthrough. The next day, I went fishing, and was graciously reminded of how much I like the newer rain sound instead of the classic one. My ears thank you, Mojang. Once I had a bit of food, I went caving again and found a skeleton dungeon. The chest didn't have anything too exciting, but a skeleton spawner is huge because it means I might be able to get the sniper duel achievement. So I torched up the spawner to prevent skeletons from spawning, marked its position with a tower on the surface, and continued caving where I came across a mineshaft. This was pretty good as I need rails for later, and this saves a bit of iron. I was pretty happy with the seed so far. It was even better when I found diamonds. Speaking of diamonds, I forgot just how rare they were back in the day. Nowadays, all you really have to do is find a large open cave, and there will be diamonds all over it. Granted, not huge amounts, but still, enough of those small veins add up. And for armors and tools, just do some villager trading and you're stacked. Diamonds just don't hit the same anymore, and I don't think it's nostalgia. It's just that diamonds are too easy to come across now. I love the changes Caves and Cliffs made to caves. They've never been more varied, but I also really do miss the interconnected spaghetti caves as people called it. Getting lost in a seemingly endless cave with multiple passageways just screams adventure, and it's just a lot of fun, and getting rewarded with ores throughout it all is great. Yeah, it's really easy to get lost, but you learn how to avoid that with methods like keeping your torches on one side of the wall so you know which way you came from. There's a bit of skill in navigating them. Of course, you could also, worst case scenario, dig up to the surface. I just wish modern Minecraft had this a little more. Maybe not to this extreme, but I would like fewer dead-end caves, you know? When I came back from caving, I had to fight a horde, and a skeleton accidentally killed a creeper getting me a music disc. Don't get too excited though, it's only 13. Just my luck, of course. Then I went to do some adventuring, and actually came across a village. Of course, this is completely useless, because villager trading was added in... let's see... ah yes, 1.3.1. There was also a blacksmith which got my hopes up. Not for long though, because it turns out blacksmith chests aren't a thing in this version. So with the Squidwards not doing business with me, and since I couldn't even steal from them, they were completely useless. This was actually my first time finding a village in this version though, since as a kid, I only ever saw villages in Super Flat Worlds, which were added in the next version, 1.1, or in the Xbox 360 edition, since villages in that version were pretty much guaranteed, since the worlds are pretty small there. After finding the village, I managed to trap a skeleton in a 1x1 hole, so I tried to build out a bridge and shoot him, but he despawned. Don't worry, I didn't die inside that much since I still had the skeleton spawner as a safety net. On my way back home, I found 3 doggies! Why did I tame them? Because they're an essential part of every Minecraft world, of course. You always gotta have dogs that will do nothing but sit in your house for your entire playthrough. Anyways, right away I immediately began work on turning the dungeon into a skeleton farm. With that done, I set up a long hallway. With enough tweaking of the hall, I eventually got the kill from 50 blocks away and... well, you know what? Fuck that. I did it fair and square, it's done. I don't need your validation, game. Much better. With that done, I decided I needed more diamonds, so what I did was make a mine. I dug down to Y11 like the old days and began strip mining. I found a couple diamonds, but not really much more until I got bored and did something else. There was lots of lava in the mine, so I figured it was a good idea to grab some water and get some obsidian so I can make an enchantment table and a nether portal. My adventure with the village earlier got me some sugarcane, so I planted some and attempted to make a book. You see, in modern Minecraft, you make a book with 3 paper and 1 leather, and that leather and paper can be wherever on the crafting grid. Here, you don't need leather, which is nice, but the paper's orientation matters. You need 3 paper in a vertical line. This confused me for a while and felt a bit like a slap in the face when I googled the recipe and saw that I had the right idea, but the game is very picky about it. After that, I made the nether portal, lit it, and entered the nether. It immediately shocked me just how much 1.16 actually changed the nether. It used to have literally nothing in it. Lucky for me, I didn't need to look very hard for a fortress as it was near my portal, though I did have to show aghast how much of a pro gamer I was first. In the fortress, I decided to pick up some netherwort for later, and eventually came across a blaze spawner where I picked up 15 blaze rods before heading back home. I got a little lost on the way back, but I found the portal eventually. Can you tell I'm horrible with directions? Also, random side note, the Nether soundtrack wasn't in the game at this point in time, so while I was finding my way back, an overworld track started playing, which was so weird. Anyways, from this point on, I spent a lot of my nights fighting to get ender pearls, which were a bit rare since endermen don't spawn in the Nether, and they aren't the most common enemy in the overworld. That's not the only thing I want though. I'm also grinding for XP. This is extremely important since in old versions, the highest enchantment level was 50 as opposed to the 30 limit we know today, and I need a high level enchantment since I need to get the Overkill achievement, and to get that, I need to deal 9 hearts of damage in a single strike. You might be asking, well, why don't you just wait until after you beat the dragon since that drops loads of XP? And to that I say, the Ender Dragon has got to be the last thing I do, don't you know? It makes narrative sense. You can't just put the story's end right before some random task. Anyways, back on track. During the day, I did some more fishing and then set out on an adventure with one goal in mind. I had to find another dungeon, and this dungeon must have a saddle in one of the chests. This was exhausting to think about since dungeons aren't the most common thing in the world. But regardless, I set out. And after a bunch of caving, I found one! Though it was heavily guarded as it was in the middle of a mineshaft with a couple cave spider spawners nearby. I nearly died, but I managed to get through and destroy the spawners, and in the end, my troubles weren't for nothing. There was a saddle in the chest. My mission was a success. So now all I had to do was find a pig and drive it off a cliff. Let's put it on this guy here. How do you control him? I'll just get my saddle back and figure this out later. You've got to be kidding me. Yes, that's right. Once you put the saddle on a pig, you aren't getting it back. I was so defeated as I walked back home. I didn't give up though. When I got back home, I just did something else. I began making a basement that would also serve as an enchanting room. Right now, it's a little empty because there aren't any bookshelves, but we're working on that. In the meantime though, I have a painting and a bootleg flower pot because that isn't in the game yet. After doing that, I was in a bit of a decorating mood, so I decided to make a little dock so I had a dedicated fishing spot that I knew not to put sugarcane around. For the next little while, not much was happening progress-wise. It was mainly just me fishing for food and farming sugarcane for bookshelves. Though I did take some time to make a secret painting room. It's early Minecraft, you've gotta have a secret painting room. So I decided to make a nether wart farm behind the painting. Came out looking pretty alright. Afterwards, I made a ladder to the roof of my house and fenced it in. After a couple nights, I realized I have a lot of cobblestone in my chest, so I thought I would get started on probably the largest achievement in the game, on a rail. This achievement has you ride a minecart 1,000 blocks out. So I had nothing left to do but to bridge for a while. I tried to make it look nice at first, but after a while, I realized just how far 1,000 blocks is and stopped caring. At least I expanded the hill for easier access and made a nice little entrance to my mine. Oh, and also, I added a pumpkin and melon farm on the roof of my house. Well, just pumpkins since I didn't have any melons. After the railroad was finally set up, all that was left to do was to ride the minecart. Now, I know I could make powered rails and redstone torches all the way to the end, but that would require over 3 stacks of both powered rails and redstone torches. I already had to make 15 stacks of normal rails, so I thought of another solution. The furnace minecart. Make this thing with a minecart and a furnace, pop a bunch of coal in there, and BAM! A perfect device to push your minecart along. So much faster and cheaper. Is that the first time I've ever actually used the furnace minecart? Yes. Will I ever use it again? No. With this method, the ride is a little slow, but hey, the achievement never said anything about speed, so let's enjoy this together. I'll, speed it up a little bit for you. Afterwards, I found some cows and made a cake. How lovely. Then I finished the enchantment table area. Oh yeah, also, while working on the railroad, I did some more caving and found a third dungeon, and this one also had a saddle. I was not gonna mess it up a second time, I made sure of it. So after riding the railroad, saddled a pig next to my house, trapped it in a little box, and then dug a hole under the block it was standing on, and then broke that block while riding it to force it to fall and give me the achievement. Sure, I almost killed it before dropping it, and it died when it fell, but I got the achievement, so who cares in the end? With the big achievements done, all that was really left to do was to prepare for the dragon. So I had to make a pig farm to get a bunch of pork chops so I won't starve in the fight. This, had some difficulties. But it's okay, there were some replacements nearby. Afterwards, I gathered materials to make regeneration potions. I already had some nether warts and gas tears, but I needed to make a trip to the nether to get some glowstone so I can make them regen 2 potions. Doing this let me get the local brewery achievement at the same time as preparing for the dragon. 2 birds, 1 stone. Then I tried my luck at enchanting a diamond sword with 44 levels. I got very lucky and ended up getting sharpness 4, knockback 2, and looting 3. It's a good thing that I got this too, since in this version, enchanting takes all your levels, unlike modern Minecraft where it'll only take 3 levels from you. Finally, I used the sword on a couple mobs, getting me the final achievement that isn't related to the end, Overkill. The only thing left for me to do was to use the ender pearls I got over the course of my journey to make some Eyes of Ender and find the stronghold. I only lost a couple eyes on the way there, and once I was inside, it didn't take me long to find the portal room. So now we just destroy this, and light this, and... oh. Of course I'm off one. All hope was not lost though, since I had my blaze powder with me, and the gods were apparently on my side, since in one of the chests in the stronghold, I found an ender pearl. The relief I felt in the moment was unmatched, so now there was only one last thing to do. Enter the end, and fight the dragon. And man, this dragon fight really made me appreciate the one we got today. The first half is pretty similar, just have to shoot the crystals on the towers, but afterwards, it's completely different. You see, the dragon fight in modern Minecraft is a fight. There are attacks to avoid and chances to strike. In the first release of the dragon, well, it's less of a fight and more of, well, just stand around and wait for the dragon to dive at you and hit it when it gets close. That's all there is to it. It's pretty boring, but with that out of the way, it's over. All that's left is to enter the portal and bring this journey to an end, getting me the final achievement in the game. Look at them all lit up. Playing through this has been such a blast. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. You see, I always just assumed it was nostalgia, and to be fair, part of it is. Like, playing through this version reminded me of playing on my grandma's desktop in the sunroom of her house as a kid. But I also believe that there were some things that the older version did better, or just differently. Like, the atmosphere is completely different. The world is a lot simpler and emptier, which on paper sounds like a bad thing, but in practice, isn't exactly worse. Just different and a bit calmer in my opinion. I still prefer modern Minecraft, there's just more to do and more to see, which is better for me personally. It's been great though, and wait a second. There's one last thing I forgot to talk about. Creative mode. There really isn't that much to say about it. It's similar to modern creative, but it's missing a bunch of features like the fact that the creative menu is just one big list rather than a proper menu with organized tabs and a search bar. You also don't have access to your inventory on older versions, meaning you can't wear armor in creative, and strangely, you can't fly fast unless you were sprinting as you took off. There's also a couple quality of life features missing, like the inability to middle click a block to put in your hotbar. Though there's nothing more nostalgic than loading up a new creative world in old Minecraft and seeing this hotbar setup. I love it. So in this world, I took the time to build this house, which is actually the first house I ever made in creative. The one you saw before was the first house I made in survival. This is the first creative house I made. Not that bad considering I was just a kid. Anyways, as I show off this house in the background, thank you so much for going down memory lane with me. If you're a veteran player, feel free to share some of your personal memories in the comments below. If you're not a veteran, let me know if you think you would have enjoyed the game back then, or share your recent memories. Hey, those will become old memories eventually. Anyways, if you watched to the end, I really do appreciate your support. It means the world to me. If you like what you see here on this channel, consider subscribing, as it really helps me a lot. You get more videos shown to you, and that tells the algorithm to share my videos further. It's a win-win. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.